Another nice day in New Hampshire. We've got another big snowstorm on the way. You can always tell when you look up at the sky and it's just sort of this gray color that you've got some snow coming. So we're going to get stocked up on wood inside. We've been trying to use the wood stove a lot this year. A couple of years ago I built this woodshed for storage outside. Before that we used to cover it with tarps, but tarps just wear out and they're a pain, and you know, they cost money to replace every year, and then the wood ends up getting wet anyway, and it doesn't really store very well under a tarp. So I built this woodshed. Definitely worth the investment. We can keep 2 years worth of wood in there at least, and then when we empty out one side it gives us plenty of space for storage for other equipment. I keep wheelbarrows under there, things I don't want to get wet but they can be outside. An added bonus to clearing the wood out of here when we burn it is it leaves some nice ground down here for the chickens to use as a dust bath, which is always nice in the middle of winter. So you don't want a ton of wood sitting around your basement if you're not going to be burning it. If you're going to burn it, then you may as well have enough to burn. I'd recommend in the middle of winter when you're using the stove a lot, maybe a good 4 days worth of wood in the basement so you don't have to keep lugging it in from outside. To store it in the basement we have a couple of racks here. One is this sort of rectangular rack. You can store quite a bit of wood on it, but the sides up at the top don't have any support. It's a little flimsy. This other rack is sort of a rounded piece of steel at the bottom. It's sturdier, but you can't put as much wood on it because it doesn't have any supports to hold it in place on the sides. So we put them side by side, and that way this one, the upper rack, is sort of supported by this wood. Thank you, chickens. And essentially what I can do is make one giant pile of wood, which you'll see when it's all full. The basic idea with wood storage is you want some that's already seasoned and ready to use this year, and then you want some that's green but being seasoned so that you can use it next year. One more tip is that you don't want to store your wood too close to your house. So you can see our house is back there. Our wood storage is a fair distance away. So the reason you don't want it right next to the house is because you will get mice and snakes and all manner of spiders and bugs that go in the wood pile and find a nice home there. You don't really want that stuff right next to your house, which is also made out of wood, and that some of those same critters will find a desirable and warm place to live. So there you go, there's that. Now it does create somewhat of a problem because now you have to transport your wood from here all the way over there and then inside so that you can burn it. So I'm going to show you two methods for transporting wood. Here is method number one. It's essentially a little carrying path called the tough duck. It just folds flat here. You pile your wood in here, then it's got these two handles. It's pretty well constructed, so you can carry a fair amount of wood in that. Here it is when it's full. I wouldn't recommend you fill it much more than that because it's kind of awkward to carry. One downside is I always feel kind of stupid walking with it because it makes me walk all lopsided, but whatever. It works. And if you just want to bring in a small amount of wood, that'll work fine. This is my trek in with the wood, so you can see why if I'm bringing a large amount of wood in, this would not be the most desirable method to use. So the tough duck here, tough duck is good for small amounts of wood, but if you're bringing in a lot of wood, you probably want something a little bigger. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So last year we picked up this wood cart. It's not the highest quality cart around, some made in China thing we found on the internet, but the design's pretty good. It's got sort of bicycle-like tires, smaller, and it can hold a lot more wood than the tough duck can, which makes a lot more sense for carrying it inside. We did have a couple difficulties. It has wheels, so we had to come up with a way to get it down the stairs and just make sure that the wheels were big enough so that it could handle the stairs that we have. And I did have to make one little ramp to put outside the bulkhead so that it can go in through the bulkhead, but it works pretty well. When it's loaded up, this probably holds about 3 times what the Tough Duck holds, and it's a lot quicker to bring inside and a lot fewer trips. Here's the ramp I was talking about to get it into the bulkhead. You kind of have to get a little bit of a running start, and I probably should have made the ramp wider because you have to hit it right on, but it works. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. So up the ramp and then down the steps slowly. If you didn't need a ton of wood, you could just get by with one of these racks. I'd recommend probably the one on the left. It's a little sturdier construction. But if you need a fair amount of wood, like this amount will probably last us 6 days or so, then you could get both racks, or 2 of one specific kind, 2 of those, or 2 of those, and they'd probably hold up pretty well side by side. Ideally, you want wherever you're storing your wood to be dry and have good airflow so that your wood's not getting wet or staying wet. So my woodshed has a metal roof top and then open sides so that the airflow can go through there. Sometimes it gets a little damp on the sides, but it dries out very quickly. And it looks like we finished just in time because it's starting to come down pretty good now.